Hey guys, how's it going? Jovan Hutton Pulitzer here. Interesting thing, just out of nowhere, I get this random email, and Twitter, of all things, reactivated my original Twitter account, which they deleted, right? I have no idea why they deleted it way back when, uh, you know, before the election or whatever, but they deleted it. And all of a sudden, I kind of get this odd message that my original Twitter's back up. I go look, most of my followers gone. There's only about, 8 or 9,000 people there versus my other one, which is right about 100,000 people. And I'm like, wow, this is great. And what's great about it is because now I can literally broadcast live on Twitter because there my Periscope is there, which is fantastic, right? They kind of limited me during the election time, but they had blocked it. So now I have my Periscope back, which means I can live broadcast to Twitter. So that's great. Evidently, I guess Periscope, whatever it is Periscope is only going to be good through March 31st. And so I figured I should take advantage of the situation. And so I figured I would just kind of update everybody what's going on with some of these things about the suit. And you're right, I do believe my account was deleted because they didn't want some of the evidence. And I, like Tree Climber said, YouTube jailed for 2 months. I'm still in Facebook jail. I don't even know what happened for me in Facebook, how I got in Facebook jail. I really don't know, but that probably has a couple of more weeks to go. But I like being able to reach out to all of you and talk about what's going on. So let me kind of give you a Dirty Jersey. Nicole Bielino, hi from Dirty Jersey, Jovan. Nicole, awesome. And we'll talk about Arizona because they haven't complied. And let me just kind of bring you up on some things that you might not have known. And I think it's important for people to understand what's going on out there. So let me kind of throw some of these at you. Hello to everybody. Hey, if you want to chime in, let me know where you're tuning in from, because I really don't know where you are. Just give me, type in your city or something, or give me some love on Periscope or whatever, right? But yeah, they're taking Periscope offline too. I'm not sure how. I'm not sure why. So that looks, we got Maine. I'm on Gab and Telegram. Yes, I am. We've got Colorado. We've got Bloomsdale. We've got Houston, Brooks and Houston. Randy's in Kentucky. Let's see. K.A. Willard is in Port Lucie, Florida. Randy's in the People's Republic of Georgia, New York City, Dubuque. Thanks. I appreciate you letting me know where you're joining from. So let's kind of talk about this. Here's what you should know about some of the status of the lawsuits. And some of y'all, by the way, we got Johan, play on words, I don't know, Johan in Amsterdam. By the way, if you're in Amsterdam, have you gone to the Pulitzer Hotel in Amsterdam? You might want to check out the Pulitzer Hotel. We've got Jimmy in Australia. How you doing, everybody? Becky in Kansas City, and Henrietta in the Magnolia State. A few things. Number one, have any of you watched the new Mike Lindell documentary called Absolute Truth? Now, the last numbers I had was about 40 million views in domestic, 40 million views domestic, and there were about 12 to 15 million download views internationally. And so that's a pretty darn good chunk of change there. Now, everybody's being picky about it, saying, hey, it could be better, it could be edited, or it could be whatever. Here's what I know about that documentary. The first one looks like it's not quite 2 hours. And I know there are multiple versions coming out. Yes, Brooke, I'm involved. Mine's a little more detailed on the end. I think in the new version I'm in, because it had to be a certain length for the first time out. And I know there's multiple versions coming out, multiple versions coming out, okay? And so you'll see me pretty soon in the part I did. And then in the kind of a pre-release for it, there was stuff where I basically explained what I did, etc. But if you watched the documentary, if you really watched it, you could do me a favor. Would you tag me, Facebook, Twitter, or otherwise, or even in my email? Take your phone, okay? Take your phone. KAS, full transparency, are you linked to the Pulitzer Prize? I always tell people about my name the following. It's Jovan, like the 1970s cologne, although I'm a little older model. When I sweat, no, I don't smell like that perfume. That's Jovan's been in my family since the first century, that name. Hutton is my middle name, Hutton, like Hutton, like E.F. Hutton. Take a listen to what I'm saying. And Pulitzer, not like the prize, not like the prize, but more like the free parting gift if you hurry up and order now. So there you go. Now I answered your question. So take your phone, if you would. Please record for me a 30-second, 1 minute, 90-second, right? Video testimonial to the phone about absolute proof. Send it to me. Tag me. I'll go download it, and I'm putting it together because I talked with the producers and everybody today, and I'm putting that off, and I'm going to edit them down, and you might see yourself in a rotation talking about, hey, how great this was. So tell me your favorite moment that you saw in absolute truth. What opened your eyes? Record it on your phone. Tag me, send it to me. You could post it on Instagram. You could post it on Twitter or whatever. Just do a little testimonial. I'm going to grab it. We're going to pull them down. We're going to edit up spots where America talks about what they were most impressed about with the absolute truth and what basically made them open their eyes and go, wow, this is fantastic. So that's number one. And so there'll be other versions coming out. And there'll be a longer version coming out of here, probably a 3-hour version. Now let's talk about some of these lawsuits, just so you know these things. And then we're going to get to what my topic is tonight, and that's the Supreme Court finally getting around to hearing these things. Like Spencer just posted, his favorite part was Colonel Phil, right? And that's Phil Waldron, Colonel Phil. So let me know those things, but put it in a video. Would you just put it in a video and tag me and send it? And I'm going to use it for a commercial. Anyway, there were 81 lawsuits that were filed regarding questionable information, questionable votes, questionable procedures, questionable ballots, etc., regarding the election. 81 of them. 72 of those 81 were specifically about things that would fall into the category of what the reason they were suing, that they felt there was voter fraud, but the propensity of it was election fraud. Two different things. Voter fraud is where a person may vote twice. Election fraud is where there's bigger things like big fake ballots or whatever the case may be. However, none of the courts were ever presented any of the proof where they could really look at it. And I think that's what America's yearning for and America's calling out for, is because they want, and Minty, I'm going to get to you. I've seen your question here a few times. I'm going to get to the big reveal. They want, the public wants to know, okay, what's being presented? If everybody's telling us there was none, and if you can see simple things on your own that even your eyes go, wait a minute, that doesn't look right. That's, I believe, why Mike Lindell put together that documentary. Now, Science Unbiased, you're right, we want our day in court. I believe that that is exactly why Mike Lindell did what he did. Is right now it might need the public to become involved. It might need the public to decide for itself the things the media are not allowing you to see, which is really befuddles me, is because if everything was on the up and up and everything was great, why would it be an issue? Wouldn't they just say, oh, that's just conspiracy theory and let you go? Why suppress it? And to me, I think that the act of even suppressing and censoring is almost saying it's true. Doesn't that strike you as weird? It's like logic's not being used. The very thing that they don't want people to investigate or look at, they are censoring it so more people want to go look at it, right? And so that kind of, to me, that's kind of the Generation Zer mentality. They don't understand how this works, and they're actually creating the very thing they're trying to suppress. It would run its course if there was transparency, don't you think? It would run its course. But the fact that they're not letting anybody see it really kind of smacks of, wait a minute, if you're deciding I can't comprehend it, or you're deciding it's not really true, but you won't let me see the facts, doesn't that smack of, you're kind of making it go the opposite direction? You're kind of working against yourself. You're kind of building all these other social media platforms for them. I think one of the best advertising programs right now for other social media platforms that are popping up are the various mainstream social media platforms censoring stuff. And so these other guys aren't having to do any advertising, because Twitter and Facebook and some of these other guys are actually doing the advertising for them. I mean, it's a rule of thumb. Go back to Mike Lindell. Mike is going, wow, sales are through the roof. Every time they work on Mike or call Mike Looney or do something because he just wants to get it out there, and that's what he feels is his patriotic duty, man, his sales go through the roof. They're up several 100%, not a little bitty movement. His sales are up several 100%. It is like just basically printing press. And so Jennifer asked a great question here. Jennifer Ryan, 213 asked, what can we do to help? And I think that that is a very interesting, it's the number one question I'm getting. It's the hardest question to answer in specific at the moment. But what you can do is actually very easy. So number one, before we get to Supreme Court stuff, you might just consider really diving into the research yourself. I put out some feelers today, and please understand, you're watching some interesting things go on. If you watch Mike's documentary, Absolute Truth, you have this, and some people are going, well, I want to see more facts and I want to see certain things. Some of the things are really easily to be transparent. Some of the things are a little harder because they're ongoing litigation. A good example is Colonel Phil's stuff. Although I know where it all comes from and have seen all the data, and I can tell you, I personally believe it's real and I know what I'm looking at. That's still subject to some of these legal cases, and they have to hold back certain things because it will be going to court, and you want to keep that evidence pristine. That's one. Now, Dr. Shiva's stuff, that's easy because his happened in past tense and he experienced it directly. And that's great. I'm going to have a discussion with him tomorrow at 2 o'clock. What a wonderful guy, right? I'm going to see if I can get him to join me on a broadcast. Smart fellow, truly off the chart smart. Even just the controversy, you know, he created email when he was 14 while he was attending MIT at 14. But because email became so big, they want to push it down because he had just started at MIT. He wasn't even through the system when he created it. And so that kind of bucks the, hey, we made him because he went to MIT stuff. And so there's a really interesting story behind it. But I want to get him on because I think you should know his backstory. He is not only a true American dream story, but he is a true immigrant dreams story of his parents taking him from India as a child and bringing him to the United States. Beautiful story. So I'm hoping I can get on to do that. But absolute truth, watch it if you would. If you do believe it deserves a testimonial, give me a testimonial. You can tag it in Instagram, you can tag it in Twitter, you can tag it in YouTube. Just give my tag, my hashtag Jovan Hutton Pulitzer. I'll find it, I'll see it, I'll pull it down, and then it'll probably be edited into some promo stuff, and you'll see yourself all over the internet. And that's how you can help out. Second thing you can help out is dig into the facts. What I'm contemplating doing is taking my publishing company, and I think that we are going to take everybody's research. You know, you watch the documentary, but you're not seeing all the tons of paperwork or the suits or the affidavits or the stats, and it's kind of hard to see it on the screen. I'm going to try to see how much of that can be released as quick as possible and not jeopardize legal suits, but publish it in a book, and that way you can order it. You're only going to be paying for postage, but it'll be in a hard book form, and that way you can kind of follow along with the documentary and look at it, and you can pause and you can study the facts. You can look at the IP addresses. I'll teach you, hey, here's how you look up an IP address so you can verify it yourself. So I'm going to work on that. And so now we're going to go on to the Supreme Court. What will happen and how does it work? And international viewers would be the same. Send them over, right? Send them over, okay? And yes, it's really hard. The cancel culture is really in full swing. But again, the cancel culture is the same thing. They don't try to cancel you if you don't mean anything. They don't try to cancel you if you're insignificant. They don't try to cancel you if you're not making a dent. They want to cancel you because you're making a dent. South Padre Island, how you doing? Yes, I'm going to get this book out. And Knox, where is that? See it, Knox. No VIX for me. No VIX for me. One, if you agree. Would love to see collab with Dr. Shiva. I would love to work with Dr. Shiva. What an incredible mind that guy has. I would love to see that. So let's take a look. I'm going to share my screen here, and let's just look at this Supreme Court stuff. And you're right. When you're over the target, that's when they get at you, right? When you're over the target. Guys, Danny, especially, quit over posting this. I got it. I see it. People see it. Once it's enough, we'll see it. Thanks a lot. Okay. So I'm going to try to get it. And yes, I am on Telegram. You could always find me on all of them. Hashtag Jovan Hutton Pulitzer. Put in my hashtag or put in my name altogether, no spaces. You will find me on the other platforms. Okay, let me go to my screen. I'm going to share here. Share my screen. Bear with me. And it is. Here we go. Let's take a look at this. This is from Epoch Times or Epoch Times, however you want to say it, right? And these are basically, the Supreme Court is going to hear these challenges. Now, this was posted a couple of days ago, but I think it's important you understand exactly what's going to be heard. And this article's been shared over 17,278 times. And why you want to pay attention to this article, okay? Why you want to pay attention to this article is because they did a very good job of giving you all of the information. Here's the case listings. If you want to be able to see all of the cases, right? All of the cases that have yet to be debated and talked about and where they appear. Here are the cases. This is a treasure trove of information. And you are right. Epoch Times is absolutely great. SCOTUS, I know a lot of people want to call SCOTUS because they're kind of not having any gonads, if you know what I mean. But I think there's a reason for it. I think there's a reason for it. You know, these things have to be done right. And all of us, I mean, come on, guys, we all want evidence to be correct. And you can't do it half-ass. And there's procedures, right? And there used to be rule of law, and some of us are still working on rule of law, but you gotta have to understand these have a procedure. And I know it is such a pain in the wazoo to have to go through the procedures, but here you go. You can look at all the cases. I mean, I can scroll on for pages and pages and pages and pages of all the different suits and the different reasons. And that's part of the good stuff that's going on with this, which is going to be happening now. See, now it's up for consideration February 19th. You know, Supreme Court comes in and consider cases at different times of the year. And so they're getting ready to convene. And this is part of what is going to be discussed in the conference. Now, if you want to look up any of the attorneys' specific cases, okay, here is one of Sydney's cases. You can click it, you can find it. And this is basically the suit that was brought. And you'll see all the other petitions that have been filed and how many hoops they have to jump through in order to do it. This is pretty significant stuff. Pennsylvania, here's the Pennsylvania one. Now, the Pennsylvania one is a little bit different. This is where you saw Rudy Giuliani. This is where you saw Colonel Phil Waldron at their court. Might be one of the first times you ever heard my name in relation to this. This one is actually by, quote unquote, the Trump campaign. But here's where you get to read them. You get to see everything that goes on, the amicus briefs, everything. You're going to want to do these. You got the Wisconsin suits. And this is where you can start getting, here's Lynn Wood's Georgia case. And this is the case that Lynn Wood is handling in the state of Georgia. And you kind of see the back and forth, back and forth, back and forth going on for all of these cases, right? Even down to where, like, Sydney needed to file a very quick petition trying to get this heard, right? Because everybody was at the initial times trying to move very fast. This is where the catch comes in, folks, that you have to understand these things. You know, there's been a lot of punting going on. I can understand it, and here's how I understand it. Just so let me give you my high level here. Some of it might smack you as nefarious. Some of it might smack you as cheating. Some of it might say that's how they robbed them. Who knows? But until you dive into it, until you look at it, I would suggest don't comment on it until you're going to dig in it. And so I just want to remind everybody, because you're asking where this is. Basically, just go to Epoch Times, okay? You can actually, Epoch Times, you can see it, go to their main page. They've made all of their election stuff free. You do not have to have a subscription, although I would suggest supporting them if you can. But just go to Epoch Times. This is the lead story. Just type in Supreme Court 2020 challenges. You'll pop up with this particular story. I'm going to see if I can put it in a banner for you real quick. Unfortunately, in my broadcast program, I cannot do active links. But if you want to take a screenshot of this real quick, just remember Epoch Times, however you want to say it, both of them work. And if you want to take a screenshot of what I have on my screen right here, this is the actual URL. I don't have a way to put it into this as a link or anything, but thank you, everything. I really appreciate it. But you're right, these cases have to be done the right way. If they're not done the right way, they're not going to make any traction. So let's go back and let's talk about this. What I think has gone on with a lot of it is I think both parties have tried to avoid the wild ass controversy, right? The horrible controversy, which could potentially lead to people really getting hurt. Nobody wants that. I can also see where the Supreme Court punted on a few things for whatever reason, because they didn't want to rule early on it and say their decisions trigger a brand new civil war in America. Nobody wants that. And so I can see how they kind of punted it. But even when they punted it the one time, it only allowed the attorneys to understand here's the proper way to present it to the Supreme Court. Let me give you an example. This is just an analogy, but it'll help you understand how sometimes getting a no is good. So let's just play this game for a minute. Let's go back to Texas and go back to the 19 states going together, and they petitioned the Supreme Court to listen to this election stuff. We think that there has been irregularities, there's been fraud, there's been election fraud, there's been voter fraud, blah, 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 blah. You heard from the media that the Supreme Court punted it. I'm going to paraphrase with it now. Imagine your attorney, you're going into the Supreme Court and you prepare your nice suit and everything else, and you give it to the Supreme Court and they say, we just don't think you have it right here, and we're not willing to allow this to go into session and judge on it. Well, that kind of looks like a no, right? You just heard me say no, and boom, it goes over here, and the media reports on it as a no. But at the same exact time, the Supreme Court behind the scenes goes, however, if you would have stated it this way under this particular clause, and you would have said printed it on yellow paper, and I'm just making that up as horse shit, but just so you understand it. So if you'll phrase it this way and put it under this clause and you'll print it on yellow paper, then we have to deal with it. So please understand, a lot of this process with any suit, with anything in the world, is about perfecting the process. And what you watched was the Supreme Court, okay? The Supreme Court basically said, yes, we can't rule it on this way, but if it's this way, we have to deal with it. And that's what you have, and that's the stuff. And Home Kelly, I love your canning stuff, right? I looked at your Instagram stuff. I'm a big canner. I love canning. Anyway, yes, they'll say it doesn't have proper standing. And sometimes that's just as simple as you use the wrong words in the heading, or you use the wrong statute. And you just come back and you do it over again, and you kind of got to go through the process. So don't think there's been failure after failure after failure. There hasn't. There has just been a lot of political machinations because we've never dealt with this before. And the courts have to go through this process, and they've got to go through all the objections. But when you get everybody to throw out the objections, you know what they object to. You amend your case so those objections can be overcome. And eventually they run out of objections. They've all used up, and you're still there. So please understand, that's how the process is. And gal pickings, right? Sometimes a no means not right now. It's not yet. You're right, Nicole. It's a not yet, not a no. And that's the subtleties with what's going on. But I can tell, and even for me, and I know more than most, it's disheartening. It's bringing people to tears. It's bringing people to thinking, oh my God, my country's gone. It's bringing people to think, oh, I don't want to live anymore. It's really playing on people's minds. It really is. And somebody said something here. I want to see if I can find it. Hang on. Hold on. Where is it? Where is it? Oh, there you go. This is one of them. The media. Emily says the media is just using the Smith-Mundt Act as long as they can. You are right. They wouldn't be fighting this hard if it was a no-brainer. Don't you think they say, that's fucking Bigfoot? Have at it, man. You think you can prove it? Go for it, man. That's Bigfoot bullshit. Have at it. That's not what's going on, is it? This is a life and death battle to keep you from hearing the littlest stuff. The littlest stuff. And that basically what tells you that there are things to contend with, and that we have to see it through. You have to see it through. So you, as a citizen who loves this country, you must do a few things. And the first thing you must do is you must really educate yourself. And you cannot do it reading Twitter. Don't take somebody's tweet as the gospel. You got to read the articles. You can't do it from somebody's little post. You got to read it. The most important thing you can do as a citizen who cares about this country and the freedom of our country is to educate yourself. You've got to put some reading into this. You have to work on understanding your numbers, and you're going to have to work in understanding how some of these goes. You know, I've talked about this for a long time. I think it's very sad that in the United States, we don't teach government anymore. We don't teach history anymore, and we don't teach civics anymore. But if we were still teaching history and civics and government, you right now would understand this process and you wouldn't be as freaked out about it. See, that kind of goes along with the undoing of society. When you don't teach the basics that society needs to know to operate, and they say, hey, don't learn about government, but hey, you know how to carry a puppy in your purse and be an influencer. Look over here, look over here. That's what we're dealing with, right? And you're right. Who put that? Capone Creative. Amen. Schoolhouse Rock. That was one of the best things to ever go in our country. I'm just a bill alone. Remember those? Schoolhouse Rock. That was one of the most fantastic things that used to teach us when we were younger about how all of this worked. We don't do that anymore. And therefore, we have generations upon generations that have no understanding of the courts, but take the tweets and twats as absolute proof, and that's it. They don't even care about the system. And that's what we've come to. Conjunction, what's your function? I still remember these things. Do you remember these things? Schoolhouse Rock was the best. Somebody says you can still watch them on YouTube, and you're right. And Julie, the people are sick. What will they do when their problem reaction solution mechanism fails to sway the public? That's a good question. I've told people, if this election would have been corrected the day after the election, we would have learned nothing. If this election would have been corrected 1 month after the election, but before the inauguration, we would have learned nothing. It'd just been another election and the same system has done. Now what's going on is we now know enough that we know at its core, our election system's broke. And we have to fix it. I'm just a bill. I'm only a bill sitting here on Capitol Hill. Yep, there you go. That's it. Danny's got it right. Right? And probably Danny, I see it, Mo and Curly, right? There it is. Lolly, get your adverbs here. Wow, talk about bringing stuff back. That's what we should be doing. That's what we still have to have. And we're not doing it. And we've lost a lot of things. And the people running our elections are the problems. Yes. I would tell you from what I've seen, our elections are not designed for incredible elections. Our elections are designed to make them questionable, to make things happen if you know how to trick them. And so in my closing comment here, I just want to tell you, look, it's not over. I do not believe that. There are fine patriots fighting for this. It is now an election integrity issue, right? An election integrity issue. People always ask, can swallow, when this is proved, can the current administration and POTUS be removed? I don't know. I don't know how to answer that. And I'm only not answering because I don't have a solid answer to it. And that's the only reason I'm not answering it. Our voting needs to be managed by grandparents again. Those old people kept voters in line. You're right. 27 of those states have the machines. We need to get rid of them all. If anything happened that was absolutely brilliant, is that nobody's going to trust the machines anymore. And I think that's brilliant. We shouldn't trust the machines anymore. We really shouldn't. We should go back to simple paper, doing it simple ways. And I told people this, you go, if you went into an election place and you were handed your ballot, it's not marked, and you go to the BMD, almost said BDSM, the BMD, ballot marking device. You put your thing in, you mark your ballot. That's how most people vote it. It marks your ballot for you, right? They say we did that because we want to make sure there's no errors, like you can't fill in a circle, right? You take that out, and then you go over to another person that basically says, okay, we're going to scan it in, and they scan it and go, thanks for your vote. Well, did you know you didn't vote? No, that just scanned it in. The voting still has steps over steps over steps over steps. Sometimes 2 and 3 and 4 steps removed, right? It's not even counted yet. So I think people are going to say, I am not going to trust that stuff anymore, and it's going to have to be redone. So I think you're going to see a complete revival in our election system and plan that's going to go back to a more simple way to do it, and is going to plug all the holes that everybody now knows are potentially in the system, so none of this can happen. I think it can be done. I know it can be fixed. I'm telling you, the reason I know it can be fixed is because I'm actually inventing it, doing it, testing it, working with states. We're going to figure it out. This will never happen again. I can assure you, if the systems I can put in place with the states, this will never happen again. But here's an interesting thing is, the states have free will. I can create a voting system where I can absolutely guarantee you and challenge anyone it cannot be hacked, and you will not have fraudulent votes that get counted. What I cannot guarantee you is whether your state will accept it because of the way your state personally operates. And that's going to be a brand new eye-opening horizon for you when your state goes, no, we want to keep it the same old way. We don't want this to be fixed. We're learning some important things. Our eyes are open. You're seeing it for the first time in history. This is a great thing. Even as horrible as it seems, this is a great thing. We are learning. We are not woke, but we are awake, right? I hate the term woke. That's now spoiled for me. Just like the Super Bowl. Did you watch the Super Bowl? I put this as number one. I do not understand why you had all of these guys dancing with adult diapers on their heads. I didn't get that. Why were people dancing with adult diapers on their head? Was it basically mocking us, saying we're all shitheads? Or were they mocking us and saying we all need to look the same? I mean, what was going on, right? It was really completely weird, really completely weird. And some people, I heard people say it was jock straps. Yeah. People saying, David, woke is a joke. You're absolutely right. But that was weird. But I have to tell you, I swore a football long ago. I swore a football when athletes started kneeling for the anthem. Even our Congress is now debating, they won't say the Pledge of Allegiance. That's just totally pissed me off. I can forever do without football. I don't care. But then you see all these commercials of all these athletes trying to reflect, oh, we're great and noble and fine and wonderful, from the same people that do some of the weirdest stuff in the world. Lauren, you're right. At least Brady and Gronk were the same. You know what's really interesting? I even posted this on my Twitter. People thought I was nuts. But do you remember about 2 years ago when the NFL, there were players in the NFL saying, Tom Brady has to go. We have to put a limit on how many Super Bowls you can go to because it's not fair. We don't get to go. Talk about everybody gets a freaking participation trophy, whatever. NFL players were saying it's not fair. And Tom Brady, isn't it magnificent that this guy goes to what used to be the last team in the NFL, takes them right to the Super Bowl and says, you know what? I'm here because I'm the greatest there ever was at it, and I know how to lead teams and do it. I thought that was so fantastic, but I also thought, it was like, but that was good. I didn't really watch it, but it was whatever. Julie says, validate my paper ballot with my fingerprint. Can be done, but there's better ways. And yes, that's because of the generation of plastic trophies to everyone. Anyway, that's it, guys. So I just wanted to touch base. I was so happy about now even being able to broadcast to my Twitter. So there's 2 Twitters now. You've got Hutton Pulitzer and you've got Jovan H. Pulitzer, both the same. One's my old account, Hutton Pulitzer, but it's the one I can broadcast to on it. Anyway, so thanks everybody. If you want to do a few things, send a video testimonial if you watched Absolute Truth. I'm really interested in what you think about it. Just basically say, this is what I thought was the most important part, or here's what I learned, or here's what opened my eye. 1 minute, 2 minutes, 30 seconds, I don't care. Tag me, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, doesn't matter. I'm going to go out and pull it. We're going to edit these things into Faces of America, talking about what they learned. And you might see your face out there talking about the incredible Absolute Truth if you watch it. A lot of people are saying they watched it. Some people are complaining about it, that it wasn't exciting enough. But I don't think you can ever make data and election issues exciting. If anything, it can get a little bit of depressing, right? But you got to get informed. You got to feed your brain. You got to at least have a basis what you're talking about, because putting your fingers in your ears and go nanny nanny boo boo doesn't help. You've got to be able to debate, and you have to debate it from a place of understanding. And you're right, it was very interesting and very scary. Arizona, real quick, keep writing your senators. Arizona is a touchy subject at the moment because they're going back and forth. Arizona will only be as good as the Arizona Senate decides to play ball for you. You saw me drop off of social media for a bit because the Republican Senate was complaining about me because you guys placed over 10,000 phone calls and emails saying, let Jovan scan the ballots. That's the only thing that will work. So thank you guys very much for doing that. I greatly appreciate it. But then the people that are supposed to be wanting this to be done right got all pissy about, well, they're telling us what to do. And so they started even questioning me, which basically I just kind of backed off for a bit and says, okay, get over yourselves and go through it. But you guys got out there and you kicked their booties, telling them, get your butt in gear and let's do this right. And again, data's great, technology's king, but I do think that the only way we get to the real bottom of what happened in a fair and equitable way, remember, see, if I can look at the ballots, you take the machines out of it. And so if we're looking at the ballots and we're looking for certain things, and if the ballots were the right ballots, the right way and real, then the machine and the data and the server swapping and all that stuff out there everybody talks about becomes inconsequential because we can just look at the paper. So you have to understand, just as much as this can be done for America, wow, doesn't it mean if I can actually verify that here's what the ballot says, and we do it on the ballot side. And what if it does match with the machine? Doesn't that mean I'm actually giving the good machine makers the thumb ups? You were right, everything was great, because it can actually prove their side too. But that remains to be seen. So that's it. Nothing has stopped. And if anything I've learned, yes, you are right. You are right. The swamp is deeper than you can ever imagine. I would have never thought it. But when you get into and you get elected in office and people give you money and you get to stay there and you're a rock star and it's wonderful and it's fantastic and you can make millions and you can trade stocks, and because you get tips and hints that nobody else could do, that we would go to jail for, right? But they get to do. Why would you want to leave that? Nobody wants to leave after they get that cushy job. So, moral of the story is, if you want justice, then you must understand it's up to just us. If you want justice, it's up to just us. It is that simple. Your voice is now important more than you ever can imagine. You must be calling, you must be emailing, you must be sending letters, and you must let your politicians know you will not stand for this, and you want bona fide answers. That's not it. And if you want justice, there it is on the screen. If you want justice, you have to demand it. But the first thing about justice in this scenario is, remember, it's just us. It's just us. That's the only way it's going to happen. You're not going to be able to rely on the system. You're not going to be able to rely on politicians. Politicians predominantly want to avoid it. The system doesn't want to look at it. Therefore, if you want justice, it's just us. And you've got to put the pressure, because they all work for us. And just us, if we band together, we can make this happen. Anyway, folks, love you all. Take care. That's it. Got it. Just us. Just us is justice. Love you all. Take care. Share this on your wall. Share it. See you again soon. Bye-bye.